Hello everybody, my name is Junie. The topic that I am doing my Reteach It project on is finding middle ground in the sex debates. I wanted to explore this topic because one, it was very interesting to me to see both sides of this. I also wanted to dive into what would finding middle ground look like moving forward. Is it something that's feasible? Is it realistic for society to adopt this middle ground, or for the feminist movement to find this middle ground? So, going into a really quick intro here, in the 60s and 70s, the feminist movement was shooketh by the topic of none other than sex. Obviously, sex is a very controversial topic. No two people are going to have the same experiences, the same opinions, the same beliefs on the topic of sex. So it is no wonder why this debate was such a big deal and why we are still seeing both sides of this debate in modern day. So on the one side of it, we had the anti-pornography belief. They were big proponents of the fact that porn was violence, that porn is violence, that sex work is exploitation, that BDSM is abuse of women. And so they believed that sex work and these aggressive forms of sex gave abusers and gave people who are very sexist the channel to exploit and abuse women. So on the other side of this, we had the sex positivity movement, also the sexual liberation movement, and their big thing was that women should be free to express themselves sexually however they please, free of judgment, that men have sexual freedom, so women should also be given that right. They were also paired up with the movement of intersectionality and supporting rights for the LGBTQ plus community, for people of color, and finding equality in women's healthcare. So that's like a little background on both of these sides. So to really start this presentation, I found a bunch of different posters from the marches that both sides of the feminist movement had conducted. So as I'm reading these, just try to think of which side of the debate you think that these phrases are from. So first we have porn equals violence against women. Next is love sex, hate sexism. Next is I am a sexual being. And the last is free women's bodies. So try to categorize these to how you see fit, and then we're going to jump into it. So porn equals violence against women, pretty obvious here. This is the anti-pornography side. Love sex, hate sexism. Surprising enough to me, it was an anti-pornography poster. I am a sexual being, sex positive, and free women's bodies is also sex positive. So this side of this slide I was a little surprised about. This side I feel like is pretty self-explanatory, but for this side it really opened my eyes that, okay, both sides of this debate truly want the same thing. I think that the disagreement and misalignment is the path on how to reach a world where women are free of sexism. So on one side we have the anti-pornography movement, the sex positive movement, and these seem so separate. And so my question is, how do we get anti-pornography side of this debate and the sex positive side of this debate to overlap, mesh together, find this middle ground? I think it's there, but my question in this is, how realistic is that, and what would that look like? So I want to move into discussion points. So my sources are going to be listed below this video. first um, is from an article talking about how the sexual liberation movement has put an emphasis on the female orgasm. And this is a quote from the author Chadwick. She writes that prioritization narratives have led to a variety of negative repercussions for women's sexuality. Examples: constraining more comprehensive visions of women's sexual pleasure, pathologizing women's orgasm absence, conceding to men's sexuality, and etc., that simultaneously undermine liberatory goals. So I think that this author hits on the fact that sexual liberation at an extreme can carry societal pressures. I think that is one downside to it. I think that they kind of came full circle from starting at, well, women should be free from sexual societal pressures, to putting a societal pressure on women to be sexually open, to be sexually explorative, etc., etc. So the next quote that I found in research that really challenged my view on this topic is from Siebler. She questions, what would female sexuality, untouched by patriarchal power structures that place women as objects to be consumed and used for pleasure, look like? Can we even imagine what female sexuality is outside of patriarchal misogyny? These to me are very powerful questions. I for sure do not know what that would look like. It's kind of boggling my mind right now to think of what that would truly look like. And so I think that this author did an amazing job of pointing out that both sides of this movement at times have their focus on the patriarchal power structure. The anti-pornography movement is trying to get women to not participate in sex work in order to jab at the patriarchy, while the sex positive movement is trying to empower women in order to fight against the patriarchy. My last research topic that I wanted to bring up for discussion is from the author Swanson. She writes that abolitionists do not accept that some individuals may choose to work in the sex industry without coercion. Conversely, the sexual liberation model does not acknowledge individuals forced into prostitution claiming they still have a choice, even if made under desperate circumstances. So this, I think, shows a downside to the anti-pornography movement, where they may be casting judgment on women who do voluntarily want to participate in sex work, who want to participate in forms of sexual expression. So, having covered a couple downsides of each side of the movement, I really want to get into some questions. So these questions are what encouraged me to do this presentation. So starting with anti-pornography, what are the pros and cons? I think a positive to this side is that it raises awareness of the fact that the porn industry and the sex work industry can exploit and abuse women. So I think that it does a good job of pointing out that risk factor. But as I touched on earlier, I think that it strips women of their innate right to choose, whether they participate in that or not. I think a positive of the sex positive movement is that women are encouraged to express themselves freely. I think that everyone should feel that way. I think a con of the sex positive movement is doing that full circle societal pressure. Um, I think what we can do to find middle ground in this is to respect each woman's decision, um, support that no matter what it may be. Whether this woman does work in the sex work industry or not, whether she's sexually expressive or not, I think that everyone is deserving of being supported in that personal decision. Because, like I said earlier, no two people are going to have the same reaction, experience, opinions on sex. So I think that all decisions should be respected in terms of what they want to consensually participate in or not. I think as those questions in the discussion slides stated, what does female sexuality look like outside of the patriarchy? I think that's a huge thing that as a society moving forward and the feminist movement moving forward could take a look at, could really explore, because I think that it is so tied up into sexism and patriarchy. And so I think that if a woman discovers what her innate sexuality is, aside from sexist views, aside from patriarchal power structures, then I think that is amazing, and I hope that more women can do the same. But please comment down below what your take is on this. I would love to hear different opinions, different viewpoints, whether you align with one side and not the other. Totally a safe space, and I really, really do look forward to hearing your guys' feedback on this. So in conclusion, I just want to say thank you if you made it to the end of this video. It was a little longer than I wanted it to be, but yeah, this topic is really important to me. I hope that moving forward, more people can find that middle ground. I think it is such a gray area of how do you support both. But I hope by just focusing more on supporting women and taking the focus off of the patriarchy, that the feminist movement can really unite more in moving forward towards fighting against sexism, fighting the intersectional fights. I think that's all very important. But yeah, I look forward to hearing your feedback, and thank you.